Many, many years ago, when General Motors started losing billions of dollars a year, my father asked me, why doesn't the company just shut down? And way back then, I couldn't give him a good answer, but I think I'm prepared to answer that now. We're going to spend a few minutes on what's called the shutdown decision. Let's use United Airlines. They were also in the red for, I think, 6-7 years. The key to the shutdown decision, or making a shutdown decision, is to understand which costs are fixed costs, and just as importantly, which fixed costs won't go away even if we shut down. There are some fixed costs that will not go away even if we, padlock the gate. Now let's spend some time on the profit formula and expand it a little using algebra. This sheet is all about algebra. You've seen the profit formula at the top in a previous recorded lecture and in your accounting course. And we're going to keep using algebra to go step by step and end up with a much more powerful profit formula. We're going to end up here in just 2 or 3 minutes. Profit equals revenue minus costs. There's two kinds of costs, variable and fixed. So revenue equals total variable cost minus total fixed cost. Revenue equals quantity times selling price per unit. Total variable cost equals quantity times variable cost per unit. And we still have total fixed costs left over. You know from algebra, if you have the same term inside the parentheses in two places, you can take it out of the parentheses and end up with quantity times selling price per unit minus variable cost per unit, and all of that minus fixed cost. This is what I call the more powerful profit formula that we're going to refer back to numerous times in the course. Now, if you remember from management accounting, you might have learned about break-even analysis. The formula didn't look like the one I just circled. It looked a little different, and let me show you how they got that. If you were doing break-even analysis, at break-even, profit equals 0. So let's take the formula I circled and set P equal to 0 and solve for quantity. We're solving for the break-even volume, break-even quantity. Well, this is, again, algebra. If you solve this formula for quantity, you end up with what's called the break-even formula that you probably have seen before. I don't like to use that formula because who wants to work their buns off to break even? If you want, let's say, to make $5,000 of profit a month, this formula doesn't help very much, but this one surely does. And that's the one we'll keep referring to. The term in parentheses, selling price per unit minus variable cost per unit, is called contribution margin. What does a business manager or owner do with all the contribution margin he gets from selling a lot of units? If he sells 1 unit, the contribution margin is the price minus the variable cost. If he sells another unit, the contribution margin is the selling price minus the variable cost per unit. So what does he do with all those dollars of contribution margin? Well, remember, the last part of the profit formula has the fixed cost term. all those contribution margin dollars go toward paying off your fixed costs. Let's say, just for the sake of this graph, that your contribution margin dollars for every unit, let's say it's a car, let's say it's a living room furniture set. Let's say your contribution margin is $250 a unit. The first unit you sell will pay off $250 of fixed costs. The second unit you sell will pay off another $250, etc. When you've completely paid off your fixed costs, what does the next $250 of contribution margin go toward? Goes toward a party. It's called profit. So let's use that understanding to make the shutdown decision. Let's say United Airlines has total fixed costs of $10 million. The typical fixed costs are salary expense, maintenance expense. Probably the biggest is leasing their jets. So the typical jet today costs about $300 million. Most airlines lease them, and I think they pay about $10 million a year in lease costs. Let's say the airline decides to shut down. United says we can't keep hemorrhaging. Let's just throw in the towel and shut down. Which costs won't go away? Well, will the leasing company say, okay, we'll take the plane back, we'll cancel the lease? Of course not. The leasing company is going to say, you keep mailing us your $10 million per year lease until the lease is over. That's one example of a fixed cost that if they shut down would not go away. They'd still need security people. They'd still need maintenance people to maintain the jets even though they're sitting on the ground. They probably lease the gates at the airport. The airport's going to say the same thing. We don't care if you shut down. You keep paying your lease. Let's pretend that the fixed costs that won't go away are $5 million. Fixed costs that won't go away even if the airline stops flying. Let's assume the average ticket price is $500. The average ticket variable cost is $100. The contribution margin is $400 a ticket. Remember, we have to pay $5 million whether the airline shuts down or not. If we sell 0 tickets, since we're shut down, our sales are 0, our fixed costs that won't go away are $5 million. If we shut down, we lose $5 million. Let's say we can sell 10,000 tickets. 10,000 tickets times $400 per ticket contribution margin is $4 million of contribution margin, which could pay off a big chunk of our fixed costs that won't go away. In this example, we'd have a $1 million loss. Which is better, a $1 million loss or a $5 million loss? So you make your shutdown decision based on what is your contribution margin per unit and what are your fixed costs that won't go away even if you shut down.